Now with this clip, I just want to point out the physics that the shadow of the cat could not physically be viewed on the fence unless it was in his backyard between the fire and the fence. You can test that theory out with a hand and a flashlight if you want, but we all know how shadows work. Now in this clip, we can see Tim run across the street. He's the white animal. It looks like there's another cat, possibly right behind him there. I want to point out that Mr. Waugh said at this point he told the police he was looking for his dog. If this had been his dog, we would have seen it again on camera and seen him return with the dog. Now at the same exact moment, we see Mr. Crossbow stroll across his backyard directly to the spot where Tim the cat just escaped. And then he runs back towards his back door. At the 20:47:32 mark, we can see Mr. Crossbow stroll into the front yard in the middle left of the screen. You can tell he's in the front yard because of the difference in the shadow. He's not visible because the fire is not projecting him on the fence, and we can't see him as well. Now, this doesn't look like Mr. Crossbow is looking for his dog to me. Any of us who've had the pleasure of chasing a dog that's escaped or gotten away know we can walk after it and call after it, call its name, but you're generally not going to stand in the same spot for 20 seconds and look for it, unless it fell down a well or something. Now, at this point in the video, we see Mr. Crossbow walking towards our property. You can see him cross over a license plate, and then he exits the field of view of any of our active cameras for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Knowing that time frame, we know there's no other way he could have gotten back to the point we see him next, other than to have followed the route that's displayed here. Now, the most disturbing part of this whole ordeal is that regardless of who killed Tim, somebody did. The veterinarian autopsy showed that Tim died of a puncture to his diaphragm, which caved in his lung cavity, so he had no air pressure in his lungs and essentially just suffocated. Now, a couple things we can infer is that, number one, he didn't go very far, so he had to have been shot and killed within one breath. He couldn't have taken a breath. His lung capacity was instantly ended. And it also means that whatever punctured Tim's lung was essentially removed after Tim had died because of the lack of blood. Dr. Rizzo, the veterinarian, was initially baffled with the findings, especially with the no blood, but after having done a little bit more research and actually looking, with a lung puncture like that and the animal dying pretty quickly, and then still having essentially a plug in the wound, which would have been an arrow or a bolt or whatever had punctured him, he died before anyone ever contacted him. So at this point, someone, namely our Mr. Crossbow, would have had to have trespassed onto our property to remove the bolt or arrow from this dead cat already, which is horrifyingly cruel. Now, even if we assume best case scenario that this person didn't cause the death of Tim the cat, he would have been in very close proximity to him multiple times here. So if he had heard a noise, could have knocked on the door and said, hey, your cat's in your yard dying, but it seems very suspicious that everything seems to add up to something sinister. Now, after allegedly doing the deed here, our Mr. Crossbow would have taken a really strange route to get back to his house. He walked up Ray Street off our property there, back to an old railroad abandoned crossing with a bunch of foliage and brush, stumbled through that apparently, and would have had to trespass through our next door neighbor's yard just to attempt to avoid some camera views and get back to the point where we do see him here. Now here I want to just stress, he's walking off a private property. This isn't somewhere in our neighborhood we casually just walk through. This is someone's yard. With these screenshots, I want to point out that these are not the same photo. This is several photos taken several steps apart, and you can see the same perpendicular line running to his hand. We can assume that's an arrow or a pencil or whatever you'd like to assume. In this case, it does make sense to assume it's an arrow or a bolt. To reiterate, we simply don't see a dog in this frame or any other frame. That was apparently what Mr. Waugh was out here for. Now at this point, I want to thank you guys for sticking around and dealing with our shoddy editing. We're certainly not YouTubers. We haven't done anything like this. It's been a heartbreaking experience for our whole family here trying to deal with this and get through it. If you guys think of anything or see anything here that maybe we're wrong about, maybe we've misunderstood, please let us know. Share this video out, get it to any animal people you know, and thank you for taking your time to investigate with us. Take care out there.